Welcome one, welcome all to episode 231 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, June 15th, 2024. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the Insipid Ghost, joined by my co-host, the Intrepid Captain Logun. Today, we're chatting, of course, about Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Games Showcase. Whew, what a week it was. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness, those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's been a heck of a week, man. It's hard to kind of keep track of all the news that's been coming out and not try to feel like you're gonna forget anything or all the details. It's a blessing and a curse because we always get so much awesome news to kind of like go over as far as like stuff we're gonna be excited about for the next year. It's so hard to like, because I was watching some trailers and stuff this week and I was like, oh yeah, that was really cool. I forgot about that. Dang it. Son of a gun. But that's just how this kind of time is, you know, you're trying to keep up with all the news. But how are you doing? How was your week?
My week was good, I think. It was like I'm trying to recover from Summer Game Fest and like the travel and stuff, and I was jet lagged earlier in the week. I've clearly picked up a cold or something in the last 2 days, which is weird and annoying, right? And so that's frustrating. But like gaming wise, it's been cool. The Cliff Bleszinski interview took off, which was neat, unexpected, I think, and new. So that was very cool, but also a little shocking, you know?
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're like recapping and looking back, and it's like there were so many fantastic and amazing announcements across just Summer Game Fest, being in LA, seeing and meeting everybody, the Xbox Game Showcase, the hype, and the I guess the reignited excitement for Xbox that has been lacking in recent years. It was just been just wild, all things considered.
Yeah.
What's up, Rob Frawley? What's up, Nisa Howard? Jalen Gill in the chat. One of my favorite people, Jalen Gill. Silkenit and GoldenEye 1971. Good to see you guys. But yeah, it's been a week, man. Too much and too many good things to talk about.
Can I bug you for a question right off the bat?
Hit me.
We've had some interesting news topics this year, given Xbox choosing to go more third party with their first party titles, you know, some of the layoffs with Tango Gameworks and stuff. One of the questions that kind of comes to mind is with the Xbox Showcase. I think all of us kind of agree that this was probably one of their best showcases. Do you feel like this has earned back goodwill in the form of promise of good games to the ecosystem, especially on Game Pass, that kind of sweeps under the rug some of the mishaps that happened earlier this year?
Nothing sweeps anything under the rug, but
the social currency that's exchanged.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good social currency being moved around right now in the wake of the Xbox Showcase, because not because of the games shown necessarily like one-to-one being the reason why, because what we saw was the plan executed in motion. They started things years ago when they acquired In Exile and Obsidian and Bethesda and then Activision. They started things in motion that took longer to pay dividends as a result of the pandemic, that sabotaged the launch of the Xbox Series S and X. And they had a lot of self-inflicted wounds by releasing some of their games before they were ready. Halo Infinite, fantastic game, lacked ongoing content. Redfall, obviously a problem. Forza Motorsport, obviously a problem. Starfield launching without 60 frames, a problem. So they've lacked at launch a lot of the promise that was promised to gamers. Whereas now I think when you're able to have a showcase like you did, it's the proof in the pudding. It's the concept becoming kind of to realization. I think that's kind of it. They've kind of got the last dog off their back when Hellblade 2 released, because that was the very first thing that showcased the Xbox Series X. And it's like, this is it. This is proof of concept next gen. This is what we're doing. And so like even State of Decay and Fable and whatnot, we got updates on things that are ongoing. So the social currency, I think, is trading far higher than it ever was. Call of Duty being able to showcase a message. Hey, if you're in the Game Pass, you get these perks right now.
Yeah.
I think that's really what's happening, but nothing sweeps it under the rug. It's just finally proof of concept at a time where their biggest rival in PlayStation is not delivering, which is very strange to say, but like you step back and you look, the roadmap for PlayStation is pretty dull.
Mhm.
And it's been trading on second party stuff, and they're not doing what they need to do. So it's just a shifting of tides, but I don't think we're there yet, and I don't mind that stuff's multi-platform. So
Okay.
good question.
I was always curious. I don't think anyone, and maybe saying like sweeping it under the rug was a bad way to kind of express what I wanted to get across, but it feels like a lot of love was lost for Xbox. You know, we lost Tim Dog.
Oh yeah.
So when
Is Tim Dog all
when
right?
I wonder when we're looking at the games, I guess I'm trying to understand, does this rebuild faith in the ecosystem that many people like subscribe to because of things like Game Pass, and you know, shutting down studios is never fun. Having a lack of faith in you know, like what your game ecosystem is going to look like in the future if everything's going third party. Just this was one of those moments where I was like, okay, well, does this rebuild faith in the ecosystem the way I think that they want it to, given some of the hangups that they've had this year?
Certainly a step in the right direction, right? Certainly a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Again, I'll point, like, their biggest win isn't Gears, it's not Fable, it's not Perfect Dark, although in our spaces they are. Like the
Yeah.
social, like that's the highlight of 2007 Xbox 360 era, when most of the people that are going to be picking up new consoles were not alive then, or were just being born. So to us it's cool, but like, you know, new console owners maybe not as much. That said, the biggest win is that splash screen that pops on COD, that splash screen that shows up, you know, Game Pass owners, Xbox being in the trailer, right? Like having the new systems out. So that's kind of really the win. But it's not as fun. Like that's not a fun, like it's more fun for me to be like Fable and Perfect Dark and State of Decay 3 and Doom. Like I'm excited by that stuff. But yeah. Now, words of kindness, something we start our show with. And we've got a lot to say about Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Game Showcase. I have way too many people to call out personally and individually, but then I know I'm going to do it throughout the show, right? Because I met incredible people in person. David Burdett, TK Asante, Keith Mitchell from the Outer Haven, Ainsley Bowden, so many people. It was just, the list is extensive, and I'm going to mention so many of them throughout, but just, I want to say thank you to everybody that has supported XEP, whether it's been a listen, a like, a retweet, a financial support, channel membership, Patreon. A third of my trip minimum, maybe a little more, was paid for by channel members and patrons. But it was the currency of getting to go and getting to have this thing that I've been working for 5 years. It says Luke Lohr Media for the Xbox Game Showcase. That was one of my goals. And it's not a healthy goal, because goals should be dependent upon yourself and not other people. But getting to go meant the world. And so my kind words are to anyone and everyone that's ever listened, liked, retweeted, supported, shared, whatever it is, XEP, because this was amazing. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Thank you, guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really nice to be able to have like that opportunity to do something that you've always wanted to do and have people support you in that. That's definitely like later next month. I'm going to be going to Ohio. A lot of that was helped out because of patrons. And it's like, that's really cool. That's really cool that I get to go do that, because then I get to go take on, like, do stuff for them. So like my patrons have actually are working together to try and like plan a trip or like have a dinner and stuff like that. They're all doing it on their own because they're all just good friends now. And that's just really cool. That's just really fun. So yeah. I think my words of kindness this week go out to Davram TV, who is a podcasting buddy of mine, who does Sea of Thieves content as well. He is just, he's having a hard time of it. And just for work reasons, is just overloaded with stress and work like that. But consistently finds time to reach out, check in how I'm doing with things. And like kind of just make sure that he's like socially available for stuff like that. So I just really appreciate him, as well as my buddy Caleb, who is been messing around with mods for things like StarCraft and wanting to like hit me up to do that. And it's fun to have friends who halfway across the country reach out and just be like, hey, like I need your help for something. Also, I want to check in on how you're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I love that.
Fully agree. Well, guys, we've got a great show for you. I'm really excited to talk Summer Game Fest, Xbox Game Showcase. I've been starring a lot of your comments to talk about later. David, it was great meeting you as well. At Splinted89 does great work for Gaming Trend, by the way, gamingtrend.com. Great coverage. You got to meet with the Treyarch team, talk to them about COD. So please go to gamingtrend.com and check that stuff out. So obviously the Xbox Game Showcase is a big topic, but I thought it prudent to kind of not necessarily go game by game, but talk about Summer Game Fest first. And I put in our notes, Logan, a recap if you need it there. Yeah. The Summer Game Fest Showcase, I was in the room for it. It was great. I was sitting next to Ains and Harjeet and Cog and King and Idle Sloth and so many other amazing people. But we were in the room for that showcase. And in hindsight, that showcase absolutely disappointed by comparison to the Xbox Game Showcase. But when I stepped back and look, I saw a lot of games I was really excited for and a lot of things I was really stoked to play. I also am a little bit higher on it, I think, because I got to meet so many amazing people in the room, right?
Yeah.
It was fascinating watching like Jeff Keighley's body language and such. It was interesting. But yeah, I saw a lot of
Why are you looking at him so
games.
much?
What's that?
Why are you looking at him so much?
Because he's the man of the hour, and every time the lights went down, his shoulders slumped and he was frowning and looking bummed. It was like he himself was disappointed with the showcase, and that's total conjecture. And I saw him multiple times throughout the weekend at play days and such, and he just did not look good. He looked like things were bad. And so it was just interesting to watch. That said, I saw lots of games I enjoyed from that showcase. And I'm curious, as someone who watched it separately, did you enjoy the Summer Game Fest, I should say?
So that was an interesting thing, because I was watching it with Joseph Moran from the PlayStation Trophy Room and Katie. And as we were kind of watching it, like I ended up having to take a phone call during the middle of it. So I didn't get a chance to like watch it at the time, like the way I wanted to. But I went back and kind of watched over a lot of the stuff. And to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't think that the presentation for the Summer Game Fest was like, it felt very traditional. Didn't really feel like it was very interesting. But a lot of the games that he had there, all really good like entries into gaming just in general. I mean, we got a really awesome Star Wars Outlaws trailer. There's a Quidditch game that's coming. We had the first like Horizon game coming to Switch with Lego Horizon Adventures. Like there's a fair amount of games that as we were kind of looking through and checking out and stuff, it was just kind of really surprising to kind of like with the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger game.
Yep.
That came out of nowhere. It was just like, okay, this is really cool, like, and because of that, I was just like, well, I actually really enjoyed the showcase overall. I mean, I wouldn't say that it was amazing, but I still think that we, had a lot of really good games, which is, the point of the show. Ads were there. There were some weird ads and stuff. So compared to what I had with the Xbox Showcase, I would definitely say that it was closer to like an 8 out of 10 if I had to kind of give it a ranking.
You thought Summer Game Fest was an 8?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, legit. Wow. It's way higher than I would have thought.
Well, see, that's the thing is like I'm looking at it for like, what is it looking to deliver? Games. What did I get? A lot of games. Were they games that I hadn't seen before? Yes. Were they games that I was interested in? Yeah. So for me, like, that's what I'm looking for. Like, I'm tired of judging showcase. I'm tired of judging showcases based on the presentation. Like, yes, they did come out, they talked, they had people, with microphones in front of cameras telling you what's going to happen in the next 5 seconds. Yes, there were advertisements, but there weren't nearly as many advertisements as, gosh, what's it called? His Game Awards. So obviously that was the thing. There was less emphasis, I think, on the presentation and more just kind of showing the actual games, which I think to me spoke a lot about what he took away from people talking on the Game Awards, is that we just, we would rather have that. And honestly, I would still say that the duration of the show was still a bit too long, but that's always going to be up for personal preference, in my opinion.
So I would not at all go as high as an 8 in any way, shape, or form. I thought there were a lot of games that I enjoyed from that showcase, but it lacked an oomph that I think was missing. Whereas with the Xbox Game Showcase, oomph. I feel like we got a lot of just really high hitting games. And so I think that was the difference for me. But if you had asked me like the day of, I'd have been like 4 out of 10, 4 or 5 out of 10. And then I think in hindsight, I'll bump it to a 6 or a 7. No, let me back that up. 6 is as high as I can go. But that's because there were not big, heavy hitters that I think you need to justify a showcase. I did not see justifications for a showcase. This looked more like we're checking the box to say we did it. And that's what we were here for. And that's okay to a point, because Jeff Keighley is a tough job, and I don't like defending Jeff Keighley because I did not enjoy meeting him at all this past week. But Summer Game Fest, opening night live at Gamescom, the Game Awards, that's a lot of slots to fill, particularly when Xbox has an umbrella that covers Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, and so many others. So like it's a tough job to have, and so I'm not trying to slander the effort. But I didn't think anything had the big hits, but I still saw stuff I liked. I thought the win for me was the Alan Wake 2 DLC, which is like out now. Playing as Jesse Faden, so cool. The Night Spring stuff's in there. I'm really excited to dive into that. I downloaded it last night. I'm excited to play more Alan Wake 2. That was cool. The surprises for me were like Lego Horizon being on multi-platform was a nice thing to see because it's extending beyond PC, which is a big step for Sony. But Lego games don't click for me unless you're seeing Ninja Turtles or Halo or something like that. Unless it's an IP that's like, Luke, this is for you. I don't think a Lego game bumps anything for me anymore. I loved seeing the Power Rangers there because I love Power Rangers, right? And Digital Eclipse is making it, and I love Digital Eclipse's work. I thought Valorant going to console was neat, but the only other thing there that I was big on was Arkham Shadow, and that's to a very limited audience. Right? It is going to push me towards MetaQuest 3, which I didn't expect to ever say. But there's a story behind why it's going to push me there. So that's kind of neat.
Nice. Yeah. So I don't know. For me, when I look at the Summer Games Fest, I'm looking at someone who is trying to pull together what games they can. And, you mentioned that it didn't feel like there were any major big hitters as far as like games go, but I don't think Summer Games Fest is going to get those. Like, those are going to be reserved for Sony. Sony had a state of play like just before the Summer Games Fest. Xbox Showcase was going to have everything from Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, like all of the studios, their first party studios, like they were going to get all of those, including some of the third party ones to kind of bolster Game Pass. So it really didn't feel like there was a whole lot that, like Sony doesn't have anything. So what the heck is Summer Games Fest going to be able to showcase if Sony doesn't even have anything for themselves?
A good point. Bison in chat saying, for me, Summer Game Fest was mainly disappointing because there were very few major game reveals. It felt like an indie showcase. I tend to agree in a lot of ways. It did feel like that, but what does that mean? What's up?
No, I mean, like, yeah, of course it's going to, because there's everything else is going to be under Xbox or PlayStation. Nintendo has their own stuff, so it's not really a point in showing that at Summer Games Fest. But I mean, if Sony doesn't have a ton of stuff to really show off that, Summer Games Fest can't like latch onto, then, Yeah, it's going to fall back on indies, and indies, there's no double A market anymore. So the people asking for like really big games, I mean, that's going to be really just sucked up by Xbox and PlayStation right now, because Xbox can, and they probably will, use this opportunity to showcase why their ecosystem is the best one to be in. And then Sony's going to do the same thing if they had the content to do that. And because there's no double A market, and the two biggest companies, the two biggest console manufacturers, are saving their content for their own showcases, then yeah, what's left? Indie.
Uh, Red Beast put in as a contrast, his kids love Summer Game Fest, but not the Xbox showcase. And when he asked why, he just said Xbox was just games for you. So a lot of that depends on what games appeal to you. I think that's a very fair statement. Xbox did appeal and play on nostalgia. So younger
Yeah.
audiences may not trade in nostalgia the same way. And that's a fair point to make. We'll see the proof in the pudding come this holiday. Like, do we see Xbox console sales go up at a time where all console sales are down, including Xbox? Do we see Game Pass sales go up when they've kind of stagnated around 35 million at this point?
I think
34,
it'll
35.
I think it'll be interesting to find out if what happens with the whole Xbox store front on iOS and Google in the coming months, when they are able to get that native Xbox app working properly, like with the store and Game Cloud or all that stuff. Like what is Xbox going to look like on iOS and on Google in the coming years? And that, I think, will be a big draw for people who want to have access to those games but don't necessarily use consoles.
Right. Fair point. I'm curious to watch kind of just the way it all plays out this holiday, because I think that is your selling point. Does Call of Duty tip the scales in a way that suggests new momentum? And if it doesn't, Xbox hardware will be done after the next generation.
I still disagree with that, but yeah, that's a dead horse to leave alone at the moment.
Fair enough. Well, I do have like cool stories from being at Summer Game Fest and Xbox Game Showcase. One of them being after Arkham Shadow, I was so excited because I think Arkham Shadow looks really good and it looks like a full-fledged experience. And then I saw MetaQuest 3 and I was kind of bummed. But then out and about after the showcase, we're meeting people, hugging people, just shaking hands, talking. I saw somebody with a Arkham Shadow shirt. And I was just like, hey, are you on the team? Like, I walked up to him, like, I chased him down. I'm not going to lie. I was like, hey, are you on the Arkham Shadow team?
Hi, I like Batman.
That's pretty much it. And he's like, yeah, I am. And I was like, hey, I just want you to know I'm a big fan of Arkham. I really appreciate that you're continuing that legacy. I'm sure that's a big task to handle, but I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a great day, man. And he's like, what's your name? And so I'm talking to him. It's Ryan Patton, the head of Camouflage, who's making Arkham Shadow. He's the head of the studio. He's worked on Metal Gear Solid. He was one of the creative directors of Halo 4. He's like this big dude that I had no idea I was meeting. And he's like, I'm going to hook you up. What's your name? And I was like, oh my. And so
Nice.
I thought that was like the coolest thing. And so like he and I chatted in DMs and such. And it was just a happenstance moment where I just saw the Arkham shirt and I love the series. And I know that Arkham's a big thing to take on. And I know that being in VR is unique. And so I just saw him and thanked him. And then that turns out I was meeting somebody who has had influence in multiple series that have formed who I am, because I love Metal Gear. I love Halo, obviously. And then I'm like, oh, you're making Arkham, my favorite franchise of all time? Okay. So like that was a neat, fun thing that just kind of happened,
I'm glad that he kept talking to you after you ripped the shirt off of his back, but we'll have to address that later.
Yeah, I also played some cool stuff in person, saw some cool stuff in person. Monster Hunter Wilds had a really cool demonstration with. Path of Exile 2, I played. Exoborn, I saw. Stampede, really cool game, by the way. Stampede, did not expect to like that as much. Another one I didn't expect to like was Kanitsugami, Path of the Goddess.
Was that the one that's like Tenchu?
Kind of. It's this very Japanese-esque looking game. It looks like a side scroller, but you can rotate the camera in 3D around. It's somewhat
Interesting.
tower defense,
Huh.
somewhat hack and slash. It's coming from Capcom. I think it's coming to
Oh,
Game Pass
weird.
day one. It's not a game that I expected to like. I turned out
Yeah.
to that I loved it. Really loved it actually. Um, it was neat. Shout out to Split End 89. That's David Burdett. He's wearing his XEP shirt today. David ran up to me at Play Days, which is a media
Mhm.
event, and he's like he's like, Luke, and I'm like, hello. I had no clue who he was, and he's like, David Burdett, and I'm still like, hello. And then he goes, Split End. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's up, dude? And I took a few XEP like goodies to give away to a few people that like if they spotted me kind of thing. So
Mhm.
he got one of the XEP shirts that I had custom made for the
Oh,
event,
nice.
which was cool. But it was funny. It was a cool thing of like, hey, I don't know your real name because I'm so
Mhm.
used to trading in avatars and screen names and gamer tags,
Yeah.
which happens. Like if Red Beast was like, "Hey, I don't know your real name, Red Beast." If he's like, "Hey, I'm Carson," I'd be like, "That's nice."
Yeah.
um, but that was one of those fun events, and I had a bunch of those moments where someone would be like, "What's up, Luke?" And I'm like, "Hi," and they're like, "I'm such and such." Oh, what's up? Hugs all around. That was a fun time. It was fun.
That's
But
good
if anybody
stuff.
has questions about the games that I talked about or mentioned, happy to answer them. I'll put the list in chat, and then I'll star them and answer them towards the latter portion of the show. This is the list of stuff I could talk about.
I
Uh,
remember the Kinitsu Gami Path of the Goddess one now that you're talking about, the one from Capcom.
mhm.
That was one where I thought it was going to be really interesting until I found out the type of game that it's going to be, and then I was like, that does that. Yeah, I don't know. I'll be curious what people think of that game, because that was one where I was like excited, and then I found out the style of game, and I was like, no, I'd rather just be all hack and slash. I don't really want the kind of like RTS experience from that. Um,
It There was so much reading at first, and I was very much overwhelmed.
I
And then the guy came up to me and he's like, "Hey,
opinions,
let me talk to you." And then I was like, "Okay." And he pointed out what to do, and I'm like, "This is so much easier than all that says." And he's
right?
like, "Really? All right." I was like,
Wouldn't it be nice if like the tutorials kind of like just told you what was going on, as opposed
they
to making
did.
you read
They were
like pages and pages of stuff?
They were just too thorough, too thorough.
Hey,
Split End says,
Monster Hunter,
"Oh
chill
my,
out with
oh
the
dude,
tutorials.
Monster Hunter looks so good. Oh my god, I
It
couldn't
does
believe it."
actually look really good. Like I legit like, I'm not a Monster Hunter fan, so like when I saw that, I was like, okay,
I'm glad the
I'm
embargo's up because I was in there with Phil Spencer and Jeff
oh really?
Keighley and Sarah Bond and all these like famous people. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting next to John from Xbox Era. In front of me is Keith Mitchell from the Outer Haven. And we're all just kind of like, hello, famous people. Maximilian dude was sitting right next to me.
Mm.
And I'm just like, hey,
See, that's
it was fun.
you can't be putting people up on pedestals.
Well, I had a cool moment with Phil in there because somebody made a bad joke and it wasn't funny, but everybody laughed because it was polite. And I
Mhm.
turned and I looked and I did not know Phil was there at the time because they snuck him in. And he and
Yeah.
I made eye contact and we were both like, and I
Yeah.
was like, Phil's my best friend now. He's my best friend.
Really?
Yeah. Nerd Check gets it. He says Luke is also a teacher, so when randos come up to me, but yeah, that's exactly what it is. People are like, hello, and I'm like, oh hi. Nisa says John from Xbox Era talked about this. Yeah, that was a fun event. I don't know what John said, but it was fun and funny, and that game looks incredible. Yeah, that game looks incredible. I hope he
Yeah.
said nice things about me. Um, so yeah, if you have questions about that list, I'll put it up one more time. I'll star them, and then I'll come back and answer them at the back half of the show. There, Logan, I want to roll our patron list real quick.
Hmm.
And if you would be so kind as to read those names, and then we are going to talk Xbox Game Showcase because there are so many great things to rock there.
Definitely. As always, patrons and not patrons, you can always head over to patreon.com/the Xbox expansion pass to show your support. If you don't want to do that, there's always the like and subscribe through YouTube. Great way to help support us, help grow the ecosystem that we have, that is our community. But we always like to call out the tier 2 and tier 3 subs to let them know, like, hey, we appreciate your support, because we're taking that and we're putting it back into the actual content that we're making. So we want to shout them out to give them some praise, because we really just do appreciate them. So Shout out to Chris 1H1D, Nicholas Johnson, Ellery Woods Parker III, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Xbox Skittle, Randall Thor 19, Silkenit, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jampack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, The Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers, aka The Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you so much for your continued support. And yeah, I just really do appreciate that.
Absolutely, guys. It helps us get codes. It helps us get tech. It helps us pay for websites. And in this past case, it helped me afford my trip. So I did not pass out on the plane on the way back from skipping meals like last time. Hey, so dumb. So dumb in hindsight. All right. So Xbox Games Showcase. There was so many incredible announcements. They started off with Doom: The Dark Ages. Logan, obviously I was in the room and it was excited and I was trading on that high, but going back and watching that trailer for Doom, what a way to start off. And what a heavy hitter to have in your showcase. I thought Doom: The Dark Ages looked incredible, and it's been overshadowed by a lot of Gears talk and a lot of Perfect Dark and Fable. I thought Doom looked incredible, and I'm so excited for next year for that because it just looks so good.
Yeah, I didn't know what to really expect with the new Doom game. Like, we'd kind of heard rumblings about it coming up to the showcase, but actually watching just the frenetic gameplay that they know how to do with that Doom franchise, and seeing some of the kind of old faithful weapons like the super shotgun and stuff, but then to come into this like Captain America / Rygar bladed shield weapon.
Oh, so cool.
God, it's just so cool, dude. It was so amazing. I was just like really blown away, but I was just like, this looks really fun. It looks like they are still keeping a lot of the kind of 2018 faithful gameplay that comes with the new type of Doom that they've done, but they're trying to think outside the box. They're trying to think of new ways to engage players by using new types of weapons and stuff. You know, and with Doom Eternal, they kind of played around with that with like traversal. Traversal seemed to be like the main way that they wanted to really kind of push players to engage in the battle arenas and in the environments differently. In this one, it feels like they're going to be really kind of pulling in some of the new weapon styles and play styles that you can have with the shield and just other weapons that you're going to be given to really kind of play around with this whole kind of medieval phase. And not too long ago, we saw Borderlands Gearbox play around with that idea with Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and they kind of had like a very different style or a different take on their Borderlands game that worked out really, really well. So seeing things like Doom with the Dark Ages and having like Doom Guy as kind of like the ultimate weapon as opposed to a hero in the tagline, I was just blown away, man. They always kill it with the music. They always kill it with the gameplay. Their trailers are amazing. It's hard to really compare all the other games to it, because I feel like it just was one of those games that like to start the showcase with, besides Call of Duty, it was just like, wow, I don't think any of us were expecting it to look that awesome. And I can't wait to see what they do, because their games are always like just top notch. Like they are out the gate, day one, no patch needed, flawless execution of a game. And I'm looking forward to that.
I thought it was neat to see in this showcase, like they started off with a Bethesda game being this one, right? Like with id, like that's incredible. It looks great. I thought the weapon where the skull gets like grinded up and they shoot out the fragments was so cool.
Yes. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that was so
the
cool.
Skull grind. I don't know what they call it, but if it's not Skull Grinder, I'm gonna be disappointed, because it was such a cool weapon. Oh my god.
So like watching that happen was cool. Watching the idea that it was a Bethesda game on display reminded, I think, audiences that Xbox now owns Bethesda, which is really, really cool. But they had an id game and a Machine Games game in the same showcase, which I think is really neat also, because Indiana Jones showed up later. But starting off with Doom was cool. Split End talking about how Phil's digs at at PlayStation during the COD monologue, they were a little unexpected, but I didn't feel like they were in.
I wouldn't
I
call
didn't
them
think
digs.
digs is not the right word, but I totally get what he means, because he was pointing out like there's no longer gonna be you get this just for being on this platform.
Yeah,
which is funny. But also you have to point out, like, if you have Game Pass, you get perks. So I think it's just perks of platform, and now that they own it, it's a nice reminder of like the the game has changed,
Yeah,
and that's okay. It's just part of the landscape.
I think the thing that stuck out during that interview to me was not the fact that he was trying to call out PlayStation for what they did, because they it's marketing deals. I think the difference here is that he wanted to always have that kind of access for Xbox, and for whatever reason the marketing deal always went to PlayStation. That is no longer the case. So now players are actually going to be able to enjoy COD all at the same time across all platforms. At least that's what I took away from it.
Yeah, I kind of got that too. Suddy asking about the t-shirts in chat. Suddy, they were custom made for Game Pass. They cost me, or for Game Fest. They cost me $20 a pop, and then if I like tried to have them sold, it would be like $30 a shirt right now. No, that's too much. Also, I did tell you this. You were just in a sleep coma. You haven't been feeling good. So yeah, what's up?
Oh, sorry. I want to go back to Doom when you're done.
Yeah, no problem. I do want to. I wanted to finish my thought on Doom also.
Yes.
I thought Doom 2018, 17,
2018.
2018, Doom Eternal, and now this one. I hope this is the completion of this type of Doom, and we see a new take on it come the next one, because I think this fast, frenetic, incredible pace is awesome, but eventually it will feel samey, and so you want to rework this formula, because Doom is not COD, it is not Fortnite, it is not necessarily like this something I want to keep seeing iterated on. I like reinvention. I'd love to see Doom make a return, maybe not in the mainstay franchise, but like a return to like Doom 3, the horror aspects, because I love the War of Heaven and Hell, and I like inhabiting different approaches. And I think this trilogy, for lack of a better descriptor, though they've not said trilogy, it is peak Doom, and I love it. But I'd like to see a new take on it, because Doom Guy is now so powerful. It'd be cool to just see what they do just in future. But I do have my Revenant statue right here keeping me company. I'm stoked for Dark Ages. That's a day one thing for me, for sure.
Really, I forgot about it until I went to go back and watch the video, but I wanted to mention the fact that you get to pilot a giant mech.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That was amazing. I was not expecting that, but as soon as I saw that like Pacific Rim drop into the mech suit and it kind of engage from its harness and stuff, I was like, oh, this is going to be a fun moment in the game.
Oh yeah.
This is going to be cool.
And as a kaiju fan, it made me excited. But I'll also say a lot of what I saw is not necessarily referenced, but like if you didn't play the Doom Eternal DLC, the War of Heaven and Hell and those mechs and everything is on high display in that DLC.
Yep.
And you guys should absolutely check that out, because it's a great addition to Doom Eternal, and it really properly sets up stuff. Nissa said, Split End, it didn't seem petty, snarky, but not petty. Talking about Phil's comments, that makes sense. It did feel a little petty on some levels, but also I kind of liked the confidence that it displayed, because they open with that monologue, they have that Call of Duty monologue, and then they open with a Bethesda game. It's just that confidence that I want as a customer of the brand. I was okay with that. Not to mention COD and Doom are both multi-plat. So I like those kind of that confident approach to it. But what, apart from Doom, what other callouts? We've got a lot to cover, and I'm not going to go game by game.
Oh, damn.
But
okay.
What do you want to talk about from the Xbox showcase? And chat, keep them coming.
I really wanted to call out. I definitely want to call out Perfect Dark, South by Midnight, Avowed. The other one I wanted to talk about, Atomic Fall. So let's start with Perfect Dark.
Yeah, you want to go Perfect Dark first? Go for it.
Yeah, let's get into Perfect Dark, because that was one where I saw the trailer and I was kind of thinking like, oh, this could be Perfect Dark, but it wasn't until like I heard the one guy actually call out like Agent Dark, that I was like, oh, this is definitely Perfect Dark. I went back and watched it after the actual showcase, and I got a very cyberpunk feel to the trailer. It felt like they were like, hey, we're going to push you through some of the mission, and you get to see some of the UI, and you get to see some of the combat, what you're going to be doing through that. Where I was like, okay, they kind of know what they want to go for with this game. And as a huge fan of Cyberpunk 2077 and the expansion for it, if they're going with that for like their feel or their vibe for Perfect Dark, I'm going to be really interested in this game. Because the actual like combat feels like it's very much geared towards trying to add in some of the I'll call it like John Wick style combat that really doesn't come across too well in first person games. It comes across really well in third person games. So it's always kind of interesting to kind of see like how that is going to play out. Just how much you're going to be able to do that. But that was something that was always kind of available in Cyberpunk, was if you wanted to go, and I think you played this way too, if you want to go all out with like melee builds and stuff, you can, and it works. So I'll be very curious to kind of see like how Perfect Dark plays out that. But we got actual gameplay, in-engine footage from the actual game. So I'm feeling a lot more confident about that actually being a game, as opposed to just like this cinematic trailer we saw back in, what was it, 2019. So really just I'm very curious to find out what they plan to do with the game when it's coming out, kind of just more details on that one. But what did you think?
I thought Perfect Dark, it certainly surprised me, because I remember leaning over to Ains and being like, this is Perfect Dark. Because like one of the things that like the game that everybody plays is like, what game is this? Right? When they first see it. Perfect Dark I called almost immediately. And I was really excited by the gameplay when I saw it, because it doesn't look samey, right? It doesn't look like just another. Certainly doesn't look quad A or triple. It didn't even look triple A to me in a bad way. Like it looked very high double A is kind of how I felt, which I think is a silly moniker for me. Even me, I shouldn't even bring it up in that way. So let me step back and say, it looked like the scope has been narrowed, and I like the art style a lot. It didn't look like they were going 1-to-1 Hellblade style graphical fidelity, which I like. I like that a lot, actually. And I was impressed by the gameplay. I thought it looked a little bit different. It did look very cyberpunk. I was expecting something different, but I can't articulate what it is that I was expecting. I love that it looks more linear, and that we're hearing, Bison saying it in chat, it's mission based. And it looks like, at least based on what I'm inferring from the gameplay, solve the problem how you want to solve it, which I think is awesome. You want to go gadgets? Do you want to go melee? Do you want to go stealth? Do you want to go? I always like silenced weapons is how I like to play. Silenced sniper rifle, go through. That's how I like to go. And then immediately when that fails, guns blazing is my second alternative.
So you want to be sneaky until you suck, and then you go just full in. Same. Yeah, 100%.
Nailed it. But I really liked it. I thought Joanna looked great. I saw some Neanderthals being like, she doesn't look pretty. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Attractive? I need to have someone for my wall.
Yeah, so strange. But I really thought Perfect Dark looked good. I thought Perfect Dark looked really good, and I was surprised by that. I'm there for it. I definitely want to talk about South by Midnight. If we don't talk about that, then
we can jump right into it, dude, because that freaking trailer was so cool.
So cool. Now, I will tell you openly and clearly, I do not like stop motion. I do not like stop motion, and I get really kind of queasy when I see it. Grapevine suggests that maybe that's a thing that you can toggle. We'll find out about that down the line. But Grapevine people are telling me that you can toggle that down the line in accessibility stuff. But once they showed gameplay, I went from cautiously curious to all in immediately. When I saw that gameplay, that's a Luke Lore kind of game. Yeah, I was here for it immediately.
Very much. And that's it's funny too, because remember when I was watching the showcase and we were doing the live stream with the reacts, and we actually got into like a little bit of an arena where you can kind of do some combat in there. I was like, oh, this is like Banishers. Ghost of New Eden. I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
really love this game because I love Banishers, and it feels like like a kind of a tried and true thing. You got like same thing with like Star Wars or God of War. Like you just it's gonna be one of those ones where you're like, okay, you're gonna walk into an area, it's gonna close up, and you have to defeat all the enemies in that area, and then you can kind of move on in your little linear kind of gameplay session for it. And there's going to be like little epic moments, like with the was it a crocodile? I think it was a crocodile.
Yeah.
With the bell at the church, and I'm
Mhm.
like, dude, the traversal looks amazing. The characters are unique in a way that I was just like, dude, like it's weird, but I get this weird like Princess and the Frog vibe
Yeah.
from it, and I'm just like, I love that movie, but also I just really got a kick out of just the environments. Like the lighting was really good, the foliage was really beautiful, obviously very kind of like, you're running down a path until you get to what you need to get to kind of thing. And I'm sure there'll probably be like some gatekeeping, so you have to unlock certain abilities or something to open up different areas or backtrack and stuff. But overall, like the whole weaving thing too, where it's like it feels like there's this story being told, and when you destroy something, you're kind of like unraveling the words of this tale.
Mhm.
And I was just really impressed overall. I think that this is going to be one of those games that I just fall in love with. I feel like I'm going to just really love the characters and the environments and the attention to detail that they've put into just like the little bit that we saw with this trailer.
Absolutely agree, and it's the traversal to combat transition that I like so much. When I saw her whip
Yeah.
herself up onto that church, that's when I
Yeah.
knew. I was like, "Oh,
That was
hello."
fun.
And then when she's like doing the weaved weapons, I was there for it. I loved
Mhm.
it. Um, I The game oozes personality, which you expect from Compulsion.
Yeah.
All of their games do ooze personality. Like even what was it, Contrast?
Ooze.
Yeah, ooze.
Ooze.
I have an ooze. But yeah, even Contrast was just ripe with personality, and I really like what Compulsion does with personality. But I've always been hesitant on their gameplay.
Mhm.
Now, South by Midnight quickly shot up to one of my most anticipated. As excited as I am for Avowed, particularly after seeing third person, which they
Yeah.
should have shown in the showcase, but whatever. Um, I was really stoked. Like South by Midnight shot up above it for sure.
Mhm.
Like South by Midnight is well above Clockwork Revolution, and I think it's capturing something that Xbox is correctly doing in my mind, which is, and I'm using the term double A again more for clarity, smaller scope games. It doesn't look like this South by Midnight is this 50 plus hour experience. If it's a
Yeah.
10, 12-hour game, or even more like Hellblade in the 6 to 8, I say Hellblade is at 8 to 10, but the internet, they were more 6 to 8. So I guess I just went slower through that one.
Mhm.
But I really like that scope because games take too long to come out and their budgets are too high.
Yeah.
If smaller scope means more games faster,
Oh
I
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Dude.
Hellblade was a perfect length for me.
Yeah. And that's something that we've been preaching for many, many years now. Like there's a reason why a lot of games go unfinished on PlayStation, is because a lot of those games just tend to be just a little too long. People don't have as much time to be able to jump into these larger games. 40 hours is a pretty hefty commitment when you can only play maybe like 5 or 6 in a week because you're doing other stuff. You are an adult. You have a bunch of things going on, and you don't always get to just sit down. And by the time you get into the game and you're 40 hours comes and gone, chances are you've probably dropped it because something else is coming out that you were also excited about, and you don't necessarily get to round out that, or you just get your fill of it and you're like, okay, this is about as much Spider-Man as I needed. I'm just happy with that. So I'm hoping that it's a smaller title, just because I want to be able to go in and experience it the way I want to without having a fear of not having to give up so much time to live in that. And then if it does really well, fantastic. Hopefully there's an opportunity in the story to be able to build on top of that and come out with a second game in 4 years or so. That kind of gives us another one of these little like experiences. and maybe they just change the name and call it North by Noon or something,
That's annoyingly accurately funny. I don't know why I find that so funny, but I do. Um, South by Midnight quickly in my most anticipated games in a surprising way from a stack showcase. But I think a lot of people are just loving the style that comes with it. Bison in chat saying they need to price it properly though. I think I think
do. It's called
Xbox
Game Pass.
Game Pass is the answer to all your questions, but I think Xbox and Sony are both exploring pricing. Look at Sony with Helldivers and Concord.
Oh yeah.
Xbox with Hellblade. They're exploring it, and you're right. They do need to price it appropriately because $70 is too much for a game. Even if it gives you value to dollar ratios that are high, $70 is a lot right now for a lot of people. Let's see. They showed off Flight Sim, which I thought looked really cool. I don't think Flight Sim is going to pull a ton of new people in, but I do think they're doing things to pull more people in than they were. Yep. What's up, Corday? Good to see you. Welcome to XEP.
Yeah, I very much agree. I think the classes, or not the classes, jobs, very, very cool concept. Should have been in Flight Simulator from day one, in my opinion, because it seems like such a no-brainer. Like, of course, we're gamers. We don't just want necessarily a simulator. We also want to have fun with it. It's kind of the reason why there's a difference between Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon. Like the folks that like the arcadey Forza Horizon are probably going to jump into Microsoft Flight Simulator and actually say like, this is what I want with the jobs, is to be able to fly around and do stuff and actually experience these not vessels. Sorry, Sea of Thieves. Planes and aircraft. That's what I was looking for. Experience with these aircraft in a way that feels like I have a point, instead of like I'm in it just for the experience of pushing through the actual like simulator aspect of it. I love that Cheeseworks. Oh my gosh, sorry, I was up late. Calls out South by Midnight seems like a $50 game. I agree with that. I think that maybe 50 is still, I think 40 is the sweet spot for a lot of these titles. I think that that's what they should try and push for if they can, because I think they're going to garner a lot more goodwill based on the length of the game. Also, 40, perfect game, for perfect price to be able to have that be a port over to like a Switch too. Because I think $40 for a port to Switch 2 would be a great way to really capitalize on Xbox taking some of their titles and moving them to other platforms after they've had their time in the spotlight on the Xbox ecosystem. I think South by Midnight, perfect game for that category, kind of like Hi-Fi Rush.
Igor says, greetings from Spain. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Yeah, I think Hi-Fi Rush is a good example, but we also heard Phil say again that they're interested in more screens. And I do wish Ryan McCaffrey had pressed him more on that one. What do you mean by more screens? Like, explain it. Not that we don't know, but I think that's an important question to ask. So I was disappointed by that. That said, South by Midnight on other platforms makes sense. And I don't mind if things are day and date in Game Pass. I don't mind if they show up everywhere else. I feel like I was dragged kicking and screaming to that conclusion.
We were,
but I no longer. Yeah, we were, but like Gears, I'm dragged kicking and screaming to that concept. Call of Duty, I am not. You know what I mean? So
there's some last bastions that are sacred to the ecosystem that we don't want to give up because we identify so heavily in the green, and that's fair, man. It's fair. It's like a weird thing of like people being like, you can have your iPhone and have an emulator and you can play Super Mario 64 on it. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to play Super Mario 64 on it. I want to play Super Mario 64 with the stupid ugly controller that I played when I was a kid with the 3 arms and the 1 joystick. It didn't make any sense back then, but we still figured it out. That's where I want to play Mario. I don't want to play it on my freaking phone, because why would I want to play it on my phone? So it's mental hangups. It's nostalgia. It's things that we have to try and break outside of the box. But at the same time, I don't want to give that up.
I think I said it a week or two weeks ago. If Gears being a multi-platform gives me more gears. Okay. Like, all right, it's just the
Yeah.
reality of it, because we see so many studios shutting down every week. It's a JPEG
Yeah.
of losing people or whatnot. So if that means more gears, then there we go. Yeah, Split End saying it in chat, agreed. Talked to a lot of people at Summer Game Fest, choosing between a studio shutting down or going multi-platform. Put it everywhere. Like Lego Horizon being on Switch is the right place to expand the Horizon brand, which is not a big brand. Like Horizon continues to fail at landing despite its obvious quality.
It's
Why are you
such a
mad at me?
good.
I'm not the one
No,
arguing it.
I'm
Like,
not mad at you. I'm mad at the fact that Horizon is such a good franchise with such an awesome world, and it doesn't do well. Like, what the heck is going? What do people want? Do people just want male protagonists in their game? Is that what it is? Or what am I trying to? What am I missing that makes Horizon a not good franchise compared to all the other content that Xbox produces? They're amazing games. I don't get it. I'm
here's the deal.
frustrated.
If male protagonists is what they want, then South by Midnight and Fable are in trouble. Perfect Dark's in trouble.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like there's 3 female-led. Tomb Raider was never popular, I guess.
Well,
It's
there's Doom, there's Gears. I'm missing something. There's like one that's like right off the top of my head that should be there. That I'm trying to. Indiana Jones. Yeah, they got their male protagonists if that's what they want.
Well, I honestly don't think that's it. Cage Havoc in chat saying it's a boring game, simple. I was bored by Horizon, but I think I was bored because I played it next to stuff that was in a similar genre and to me more interesting. But no one can argue its quality, right?
No,
and
it is. Those games are really, really well done.
Mm-hmm.
I love the combat systems, the way that you take down the way that you have to like shear off parts of the enemy and stuff, and it's like that translates so perfectly to Lego. Like it's such an interesting game in such an interesting time. Like how many and I don't even want to go into like the actual story, because part of that was what really kind of like blew me away, because I was like, oh my god, the story is actually kind of compelling for me when you find out what's going on. And I'm like, well, now I'm really invested in the character even more, because I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch how Lego Horizon does, and then just in general what goes on with a lot of these franchises as they work to expand where they're available. Like Call of Duty, Diablo, Doom makes perfect sense. No one's gonna bat an eye at being multi-plat. But
established franchises.
Yeah. Right. But when Gears goes multi-plat, people are gonna be befuddled. And I said to somebody, this was months ago, and we do need to get back on track with the showcase, but Halo is going to be on the next Switch. I really think Halo Infinite multiplayer launches on the next Switch. I really do.
That'd be interesting.
I really do think that happens. I'm not rooting for or against. I want more Halo, so whatever that means, but I think that happens, and it feels like blasphemy to say out loud. It just feels weird.
Yeah. I disagree with you, because of what I think Xbox is going to try and do with their hardware line next gen.
The handheld?
I think they want to try and push the handheld. I think they recognize the market for it, given all the other handhelds. And I would say, like, very much in the way that I thought Sea of Thieves would go to the Switch. It didn't, because it just makes sense to be putting it on stronger hardware. I think Halo Infinite may fall into that category as well, but that's just like gut instinct kind of like going. So, but yeah, anyway, we can move on.
Indiana Jones, I think, is a big deal to a lot of people. I did not think that trailer did anything for me, but I am not high on Indiana Jones. I was like, this game looks like it's going to be good. And I know that I'm in the minority in our space, so I don't like talking about it because I feel like I'm yucking everyone's yum. Yeah. But I'm gonna play it and I'm excited to. So what did you think?
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. This trailer did not hit for me. But mostly
you hate Indiana Jones,
but mostly don't even frigging go there. No,
out there,
Luke, you shut the worst right now. You shut it, sir. Don't even. No. So here's the thing. Right off the bat, this game looks good. Like Machine Games builds good games. I'm very invested in the actual like look of the game, the concepts of it. Like I like what I'm seeing. The stupid thing is I have this like really big hang up with Troy Baker. Ever since I saw the dude in person and listened to him like at an actual panel talk, I'm like, there's just too much.
His indie sounds good though.
His
He
indie
sounds like
sounds
indie.
good, but I think there are other people who could also do indie that could probably still be a decent actor without it having to be Troy Baker. And unfortunately, his pretentious self gets in the way of me wanting to play Indiana Jones. And if Cheeseworks says in chat, you should interview Troy Baker. That is not going to be me because I am not going to be able to listen to that dude talk about himself for an hour. But the actual trailer itself, I kind of had a weird railing against like everyone's doing the choo choo, look at your American blah 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 with the German protagonist or antagonist, and I was like, that felt a little too campy for Indiana Jones for me. But everything else,
the man has fought aliens or something.
Okay,
he's a campy character.
He's not a campy character. I think that there is camp in Indiana Jones, but there's a difference between making just an outright campy character versus having like a little bit of that kind of blockbuster camp in like a movie that doesn't take it, that takes itself seriously with moments of levity.
Rick Davis saying, Luke, I gotta say, I'll never understand why you're so adamant Indy's current popularity is all that relevant to this. TMNT was dead IP not too long ago. Now it's back. This is how it goes. I think it has to do with its time period, and it's a time setting. Indie remains in the 40s and 50s when TMNT kind of its launch occurs, every few years. And I think that's it. I just don't think the battle against Nazis is as relevant as it once was to the audiences right now because they're not informed on history, which is a shame. But proof is in the pudding, right? A great game is a great game. And if it brings indie back, I'm here for it. But the last two indie movies disappointed in the box office and critically with the one prior. I just don't think indie is landing, whereas TMNT is delivering at the box office. So we'll see what happens. Oh, great. Logan's fighting with Cheeseworks in the chat. This is good. Todd Oxford says Troy sounds amazing. I thought Troy's doing a pretty good indie myself.
It's pretty good, but he's not the only person that can do that. And
I would go ahead.
I have not, from the conversations that I've heard him at, like at convention panels, in interviews, on podcasts, on Twitter, like the dude rubs me the wrong way. And
your hang up is personal, not based on his performance.
Yes, which is a recognized bias.
Gotcha. That's fair.
I plan on enjoying the heck out of Indiana Jones. I did think that the little like choo choo thing with the German dude was a little over the top, but that's like the nitpicks for the trailer overall. I've obviously been preaching on this show that I think that Indiana Jones is relevant, that is going to do really well. I still very much believe that. I'm still very much looking forward to that because Indiana Jones is one of those franchises that I love. There are bits of this game that I will not enjoy because of personal bias that I will set aside when I actually get to actually play it.
Fair enough. What's up, Decado? Good to see you. Indie selling 10 million, says Bacon Gaming. I hope 10 million people play it. I really do. And I'm day one. Even if it wasn't Game Pass, I'd buy it because I'm interested. I hope it does well. I really want it to do well. Logan, I put up a picture on the old Twitterverse of us playing Fortnite, or our crew playing Fortnite. I don't think you were there, but it had Doom Guy, Master Chief, Indy, and Marcus Phoenix. Yep. That has 80,000 views right now. Yeah. 80,000 views, and I had to mute it. People are arguing about Indy being Xbox, and I'm like, Indy is no more or less Xbox than Spider-Man is Sony. Like, it is. It just is. Like, I don't know why anyone's upset. Like, knock it off. But I do get a kick out of people getting in their feels about it. Like,
Yeah.
Indie will come to PlayStation eventually. Whatever. If you're on Game Pass, enjoy it day one. Like, rock on.
Yeah.
Changing subjects to Avowed. Avowed had, I thought, a very good showcase, but I was frustrated because, and I know why they did it, but I don't agree with it. In the Xbox Games podcast, the official Xbox podcast, I should say, Tina Amini and Malik Prince did an incredible interview with Carrie Patel, who is an established author, by the way, but works at Obsidian, about the game. And they showed off new gameplay, how the game adjusts to difficulty and how you need to level up. I thought it showed well. I thought it looked good. I think the mushroom enemies look dumb, but they showed third person mode, which upped my interest intensely. And I was here for it. And I loved the idea that we're getting more from Avowed. They've clearly taken feedback and worked it in. I know that what we saw earlier was like a year ago, so was definitely like an arena where they just dropped some enemies and made stuff happen.
Are you talking about the one that was at the actual, like, at the beginning of this year, the showcase?
Is that the one it was?
Direct?
Maybe it was you pointed out to me that it's very much like they just had an arena and dropped things in. Whereas this one,
that wasn't me.
Okay, it wasn't you. This one looked like a video game that is being played and progressing and doing something far more Obsidian-like, I guess you would say. And as somebody who did not play the Outer Worlds, that game doesn't interest me. Something about this showcase upped me. Maybe it was the hype from other stuff, but I liked what I saw.
It bugs me that you haven't jumped into Outer Worlds, but I also know that you're not going to like that game.
And I get that. Yeah.
And that makes me sad too, because I know how you are with like comedy and stuff, and it's not going to hit for you the way it hit for me. And I think that was the thing that endeared me so much to it, was the comedy was something that I very much enjoyed. Avowed, man, I've been talking about this game for a while. I stand by the pedigree of the studio. It's the main team that's working on it. I hate that they are sticking with encumbrance because it's a stupid mechanic. But that aside, I'm really looking forward to jumping into this, because I think it's going to be the way that I get into Elder Scrolls when Bethesda finally gets Elder Scrolls 6 out. As Outer Wilds, or not Outer Wilds, totally different game. Never played. Outer Worlds was my gateway into Bethesda games, which then turned me on to Fallout 76, which was my prep course for Starfield, which is probably why I enjoyed Starfield so much, because that pedigree was there, that design was there. I still think that Outer Worlds is a better game in some aspects to Starfield, but looking at Avowed and knowing that they're going to have a third person mode rings true to the idea of like what they know from Skyrim. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do in a fantasy environment, given like the other team that worked on Outer Worlds and what they were able to do there. Definitely feel like there is a big emphasis on the color palette being the way it is. I know a few of the main higher ups at the studio are colorblind, so that tends to drive a lot of their artistic design with stuff. And overall, I think having that opportunity for us to see like the third person gameplay is really going to help with folks who prefer that mode in games like Skyrim and stuff. So nice to see that it was included. Kind of thought that it was going to be there all along, but it never came across in the trailer. So I'm glad that they're showing more and more of that game. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what people say about it, because I think I'm going to like it regardless. I
think I'm going to like it too, but you're right. Some of the other stuff wouldn't appeal to me. Like it just wouldn't have appealed to me, but I am excited for Avowed. I don't know. I saw the accidental Obsidian self-inflicted wound release date of November 12th. They put it in their blog and then they retracted it. Somebody actually made an interesting point of saying, well, we didn't get any dates. I think it's a fair criticism, but I am now, after Redfall, Forza Motorsports, Halo, Starfield, all launching in disappointing ways, I'm okay with no dates. If you need to keep the date private and just give us a window and then, hey, we're moving it 2 weeks internally, fine. I'd rather a game be ready than us talking about a month delay. Is the game in trouble? I don't want that. I'd
Yeah.
rather, and the method of delivery with digital, almost all digital only, as Xbox is clearly leaving physical behind. And Game Pass, like, what is a week? What is 2 weeks? What is a month? Less impactful now that we have so many games. And I see you split in. We're gonna talk about Expedition 33. Don't worry, for sure.
You are.
I think it looks cool. But you're talking about like Outer Worlds, Avowed. When I saw the Starfield Shattered Space expansion, that's getting me to go back because I booted
Yes.
up to play some of the updated. Like, it looks great in 60 frames and 120 and stuff.
I
But
mean, I've been playing 60 for a while.
you have on PC for sure. But like, I checked the console patch and I checked the Creation Center, and it all is fantastic. I played as Batman for about 6 seconds, and I was like, I don't want to play Starfield. But having loved Starfield, I'm excited for Shattered Space. I'm there for that.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how I keep saying like 60 frames it should be on like all of these games just regardless, and they're like, oh, we can't do it, oh, we have artistic vision, oh, it's too hard. They always seem to find a way to come out with that 60 frames per patch later on. Maybe just start making that a priority and stop making excuses.
I agree with you. I think I having played Hellblade, I don't care as much if it's 30 or 60, but don't make that a talking point.
Yeah.
Don't make that a talking point.
It's something that most other first party studios, either it's always 30 like with Nintendo, or you look at other like Sony games and they have performance, balanced, and what was the other one? Fidelity. Like, just give us the options. Like, it's possible. It's not impossible. You're making the game. You make the game. Like, just, it's like accessibility. Build in the accessibility from day one. Stop trying to patch it in later on. Stop not trying to make that like a thing that they're like, oh, well, we we want to make our game the way we want to make it and stuff like that. It's like, just do it, guys. Just do it. Everyone's going to love you for it. You're never going to think, no one's ever going to be using that as a talking point and stuff. Digital Foundry will come out and be like, it dips here. But at the end of the day, most people are still going to appreciate the fact that they aren't like feeling like they're going to throw up because it's 30 frames per second.
Yeah, agreed. Digital Foundry, I say this often, by accident, perhaps, and perhaps intentionally other times. I think they've done more harm than good because communities have just devolved.
Interesting talking point. Yeah.
A show that we should have at some point for sure. Cheeseworks in chat saying, I'm pretty sure Outer Worlds 2 is releasing next year too. Obsidian said they're releasing one game every year. I've not heard that.
No,
I don't know if that's been said anywhere. And shout out to Woggerman. I met Woggerman, Alex, good to see you, buddy, at not E3, and an absolute pleasure. One of the nicest guys in the world. Thoroughly enjoyed meeting him. And he is a staple of Xbox Fan Fest. So if you're an Xbox fan and you're not following him on socials, you should, because just a genuinely great human being. So it was really a pleasure to see you.
nice.
So, Shattered Space, I'm in for that one. I like Shattered Space for sure. Because we're being asked, let's talk about Expedition 33.
Okay.
That is not the full name. The full name has some very highfalutin title at the very beginning of it, but I refuse to call it that, much the way I refuse to call Twitter X. Expedition 33 looks dope, and I'm here for it. I thought this was cool. I did not expect to like it. The more I saw of it, I was like, okay, I'm on board. I thought Expedition 33 looked cool. Your face is saying otherwise.
It's pretty. Look, I'm not going to sit here and be like, it doesn't look like a good game. No, it's pretty. I get it. And it looks like the most kind of American influenced RPG I've ever seen. But at no point am I going to want to jump into this. Like, it's just not my type of game. So I appreciate that it's there. Yeah, it's pretty in a weird premise, but I don't know. It's not my. I know there's a whole slew of RPG fans in our community that are just like frothing to get these turn-based games where you watch everything take place as opposed to actually doing it. But
it looks like our Final Fantasy game, Yeah, it's like we don't have it, we're getting one.
Yeah,
I liked it. And Clair Obscur is its like official title, which is bad. They need to drop the Clair Obscur.
Yeah. Just call it Expedition 33.
But I thought it looked cool. I thought this looked cool.
I'm saying it looks cool. I'm saying it looks good. It's just
You said you hate it as much as you hate Indiana Jones. Um,
That's true. That is quote that, please. Make sure that you go back and find that clip.
I don't see. Let's see. So it's day one Game Pass. Day one Game Pass. So I feel like anybody that's on
Yeah.
the fence, not sure, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Okay. Todd Oxtra in chat saying turn-based combat isn't for me. I always feel that battles get drawn out and take too long. I'm normally on board with that thought. Something about Expedition 33 spoke to me, but I'll fairly say it could be because just the high from the overall showcase, which is part of Avowed as well, which I like Avowed, but I really like Avowed now.
Yeah.
So
And I, Split End talks about, not every game works for every person. I get that. Perfect Dark doesn't look great for me. Again, at no point am I saying this game's going to suck. At no point am I saying this game is ugly. It's not going to be good. It's going to fail. They shouldn't have bothered. Not my take. My take is this game didn't do anything for me. And it's mostly because it's turn-based, because I just don't enjoy turn-based games.
I am excited for Atomfall. And I think a lot of people, you are too. Thank goodness. Yeah. Another day one with Game Pass.
It looked really cool. That is a game where I want to walk around and explore in that world. I want to go smack something with, some sort of weird object that comes from that world. Like very much like up my alley kind of game. Also looks really beautiful. Probably not going to be for everyone, but I enjoyed it.
When I saw it, I thought it was Sniper Elite, and Rebellion lives in Sniper Elite because it's their moneymaker. And that's like the quintessential AA game. And I love it. But I love Rebellion. And side note, I've had Rebellion on XEP for interviews, which I really enjoyed. But Atomfall, I was like, this is Sniper Elite. And then Ains goes, I don't think it is. And then I saw the robot and I was like, is this Fallout? Is Rebellion making like a Fallout spinoff? Is like, what's going on here? Because like Rebellion is well known for reusing assets in their Zombie Army trilogy and Zombie Army 4. And like, I was like, what is going on here? It's definitely them reusing their assets in a new way. The X-ray cam better be in it. I hope it is. But I'm stoked for Atomfall, and Rebellion just has a win for me. Yeah, Decado, also Rebellion fan. All right, let's go. Let's go. Atomfall is just Outer Worlds, an Outer Worlds version of Fallout. Fine, cool. I'll take it. Like, I'm there for it. Cheeseworks loves Perfect Dark, says that you're a fool for hating it, and that you shouldn't hate Perfect Dark, Logan.
There's a narrative being strung here that is not backed by fact.
I'm sowing chaos. Atomfall, cool. Did you want to say anything on Atomfall?
I'm excited for it. I still believe Obsidian's probably going to be making their own version of a Fallout game in the future, because it seems to be their bread and butter right now. I very much think it's great that there's a UK based Fallout game that is coming out from another studio because Bethesda refuses to make a London based Fallout game. And even the mod that was supposed to launch, which was like its own full on like expansion to Fallout 76 or no, Fallout 4, that was going to be like released, got delayed indefinitely because the next gen patch came out at the end of, I think it was April that it came out, April or March, where they were like, hey, we're doing the next gen update for Fallout 4, and the whole team that had been building this mod version or this mod of the game where it was going to expand it to the UK, were just like, had to throw their hands up in the air and be like, all right, well, we don't know when this is going to come out because now we have to account for this whole new change in code. And now Atomfall's like, we just went ahead and made our own.
We made our own.
You guys want to come over here, you can come play Fallout London in our game and just enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to Atomfall just because of that.
Shout out to the over 35 people watching. Thank you guys for being here, hanging out with us, clicking like. I see new faces in the chat. Alicanto in here, Decado in here. Decanto, you're not new, but I appreciate you being here. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Dragon Age Veilguard shocked a lot of people with its new art style. Yeah. I thought it looked very approachable. I was really high on Dragon Age in a way that I'm not normally, because I'm not a Dragon Age person.
Same.
But yeah, shout out Roadkill. Good to see you. GoldenEye, good to see you. but I was there for this one. I don't know why a Dragon Age fan that's of yore would not see this and think this is going to bring more people in.
Yeah, I'm in the same vein. Like Dragon Age, Veilguard, Dragon Age in general, I'm not like a big fan of, but having watched the gameplay and stuff of it, kind of interesting. May actually pay more attention to it now that I've kind of seen that, because this was definitely much more like up my alley, and I was like, all right, well, I didn't know Dragon Age could get me in interested this way, so definitely going to keep an eye on that as we get closer. Same thing, still waiting for Flintlock. Oh my god, I want Flintlock to be in my hands already.
Flintlock looks so cool. It looks
I've been
so cool.
waiting
It's
for
been
this game
long awaited.
Ever. Oh, yeah.
Long awaited. But it comes out July 18th and it's day one Game Pass. That's quick.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be nice. I'm really glad that they were able to get the day one Game Pass, because I think that's going to help the game out a lot. What did you think of Fable?
Fable looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Nay, a chicken kicked. There was no chicken kicked in the trailer. Fable is British humor at its finest, and I'm not a British humor typically person. And the last Fable trailer did not do it for me. This one did. And so it made me more excited for Fable, because the last one did not necessarily appeal to me. And I used to be like, I don't know how that's gameplay. And then I played Hellblade. Now I'm like, okay. And to shout out my buddy TKO Asante, who I met in person and is an amazing human being. Oh my gosh, dude. Like, talk about people you instantly connect with. Yeah. Asante, just like right there. He's doing his own show right now. So otherwise I would have had him over. I love Asante, but he always says we're in a post Hellblade world. Having played Hellblade and executed on that game's gameplay with no HUD, I now believe I'm a believer in Fable, and I'm here for it. I thought Fable looked great, and I was like, all right. And every time, I think our friends at the Nerd Chat were saying, like, was it Playground doesn't miss? I do not subscribe to any concept anymore of this studio doesn't miss, because I have said that so many times and been punched in the nuts, and I'm over it, and I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But Playground doesn't miss, and I'm really excited for Fable. That looks good.
I'm telling you, man, like looking at the first trailer and then watching this one, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a good time. There's going to be my kind of dry humor in there. I love the kind of snark that comes with that, man. You throw in some witty commentary, like I'm there for it, and looking at this, I think it's going to be one of those experiences that does kind of boast and warrant the AAA moniker that we've been talking has been kind of lacking with a lot of the other titles that we've seen so far. So I'm looking forward to just like what this is going to do for Xbox, and then what they plan to do with it later on, because Fable it's got a lot of fans, notably that have kind of waned over the years, especially with the closure of Lionhead Studios. But I mean, a lot of those people have kind of moved on to Sea of Thieves, with that a lot of the team moving there as well. So fans have kind of found that love of British humor in Sea of Thieves now. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of translates to a studio that isn't based out of the UK taking on that franchise. But man, that game it looks good. Can't wait. Probably going to be later half of 2025, I would imagine.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I think a lot of people, and I'm kind of spotlighting a couple different comments, really high on Fable. Very curious to see how this engine works with Fable and this combat, because we've only seen it in Forza. Rick Davis, sometimes, dude, like, I need you to like something. After Forza Horizon 5, my confidence in Playground is definitely wavering, but that was only one game. Forza Horizon 5 is fantastic. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Eric the Red, shout out to you, says, such a great showcase. I hope to go again next year. Eric, tell me, did we meet? Because maybe it's a blur and I'm bad with names. Did we meet, my friend? Because it was incredible. Forza Horizon 5 was fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's see. will Fable have awesome horse and carriage racing? Now that's the question. Todd Oxtra. Forza, will Forza racing somehow end up in Fable? That'd be fun. That'd be a cool, like, fun little Easter eggy thing if they've got like horse racing in there. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I liked it. Did you? I'll tell you, a couple games did nothing for me, and so I'm gonna list them and tell me if they speak to you. And if they do, we can talk about them. Chat, same request to you. Let's
Why
see.
did you hate on Gears of War though?
Oh my gosh, don't even. Fragpunk did not talk to me. Mecha Break did not speak to me. Life is Strange, Mixtape, and Winterboro did not speak to me. Though Mixtape looks dope, it's just not a game I would play. But I'm gonna watch Mixtape. The rest of them didn't talk to me.
So I felt that way about Fragpunk. I think the style was really cool. Don't care. I hate when they start bringing. Anytime someone comes in with a card based system, whether it's actually like a card based system or not, anytime they show me a card in a video game, I am now instantly like revolted. I'm just like, it's like, did you have to go with cards? There wasn't like a coin or an orb or something you could have used. You had to go with cards. Come on, like think outside the box, guys. It doesn't all have to be cards. I don't care what the game is. If you use cards, I'm going to be like, you didn't think hard enough about this. Life is Strange surprised me. I was actually kind of taken aback by the whole split universe thing, because that was something that I thought was really cool with Medium. And there's another
I never played the Medium. I meant to, and I never did.
Yeah, I can't remember what there was another game that had that kind of like you'd switch between worlds. Was it Returnal? I don't think it was Returnal. I can't remember what it was, but it doesn't matter. Life is Strange. Franchise
Lord of the Fallen does that.
Lord of the Fallen. Oh, interesting. I didn't know about that. Oh yeah. No, I did know about that. Yeah, never mind. So Life is Strange, interesting. I like the premise of it. It was the first time a Life is Strange game actually kind of piqued my interest. Mecha Break looked cool. Very much like an Armored Core style game that I was just like, okay, that looks awesome. I don't know if I'll jump into it. Mixtape is my jam.
Is that your jam? It felt like a Logan game.
It very much is like a Logan game. Like I saw that and I was like, yep, that feels like home. I'm here for it. Give me that Mixtape. Winterboro, good game to have on the showcase. Probably doesn't hit hard for a lot of people. Very much indie style, but for fans of like Stardew Valley, this is going to be a nice little taste for them, because I'm sure that they are always looking for the next little Stardew game that they can jump into. So yeah, those are kind of some short thoughts on the last kind of titles that you're talking about.
Gotcha. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Shout out to the 40 plus people watching with us live. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all for being here. Mixtape is definitely a Logan game, and I'm gonna watch that. I'll probably watch you stream that, if I'm being honest. I could see that happening. For sure.
Definitely.
For sure. I thought it was cool to see Shadows get expounded upon. Shadows looks really good, and I talked to a bunch of people that have played it, some under embargo, some not, just depending on what they saw. Shadows looks awesome. I'm very excited for Shadows in a way I wasn't expecting to be. Very, very stoked on that one. I thought it was cool to see Metal Gear Solid here.
Yeah.
That was a neat.
Really kind of surprised me. I was not expecting that. It was nice. I still feel like I would rather play Metal Gear Solid 2 as like a remake, but kind of curious to go into, because I was too young to play Metal Gear Solid 3, like when PS2 era. Like I couldn't wrap my brain around it at the time. I didn't have enough gaming experience to really kind of process like what to do. So I'm definitely interested to see like what that is going to hit for me like now though.
Yeah, that's fair. Rick Davis saying Shoutouts is his second most anticipated game of the year. I get it. Looks good. Kingdom Come is his only one that's higher. Huh. All right. I remember you liked Kingdom Come Deliverance a lot. But yeah, I was stoked to see. It's like a nice pickup. Like this show had a lot of big first party hits, but when Assassin's Creed and Dragon Age and Expedition 33 and Metal Gear all dropped in, it was like those are big announcements, I thought.
Yeah.
For third party, and that was pretty cool. And then you comfortably paced it with like Winterboro in their Mixtape, Mecha Break. Like it helped the pacing a lot to have those, which was cool.
We didn't even talk about State of Decay 3 either.
Oh, that was going to be my next point after the expansions, because we saw expansions to Sea of Thieves, Diablo,
Yep.
Starfield, World of
Diablo.
Warcraft, Elder
Dude.
Scrolls, Fallout 76. All reminders that Xbox owns those
Yeah.
franchises, which is why it's in there. I'm okay with it. I want to talk State of Decay, but did you want to mention something about Warcraft or Sea of Thieves?
The Sea of Thieves is going to be popping off next month. The Warcraft thing, like, I'm glad that they got the launch date for the expansion out, because they just kicked up the beta for it. It's so weird to see that, because they're just like, World of Warcraft, the War Within, and they're like, just on PC and no Game Pass, nothing. It's just like, okay, guys, I get it. There's no BlizzCon. You wanted to get the date out. This is the best opportunity. Nothing new about what they showed was going to, because when I saw it, I was like, no, are they doing console? Are they actually bringing World of Warcraft to console? Is Jez Corden finally going to get the thing that he's been bugging about, that we all know is never going to happen because they just can't port that game over to console? Is this actually happening? And they're like, no, it's just a launch date for War Within. And I'm like, I can't flip you off right now, but I want to flip you off, Xbox, because that was not right.
I thought it was just a reminder, right? Xbox owns this.
Yeah.
I do feel like they need to do more with Warcraft and Game Pass and such, but I think that's just going to come later. I think we're seeing a very slow adoption with Activision Blizzard stuff in Game Pass.
Right.
Because one of our questions,
you
from
mean
Todd
non-existent?
Yeah, one of our questions.
You mean Diablo 4 is the only thing that's actually happened as of now? Is that what you mean?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Todd Oxtra writes in and asks, when are we going to get the Activision Blizzard back catalog? And I was surprised to not see it in there. I think it's very strange that we haven't seen that stuff show up. Diablo 4 is the only one, and even then it's not fully in because of the Ubisoft online stuff. Very strange to not see it here. I have to think it's a marketing beat for later, ahead of the slew of stuff that we're supposed to get to kind of push Game Pass. If I'm them, I'm waiting until I can get all the Black Ops in Game Pass and push Black Ops as the franchise seller ahead of Black Ops 6, and that's what they're doing. That's the only thing I can think of logically why they wouldn't have it there.
What we need to see is all of the Call of Duties from yore brought into Game Pass, just release one every other, like, tell me it wouldn't be cool if they're like, Call of Duty is releasing all of their old games into Game Pass, and they're doing one every other week until the launch of Black Ops, and just like start trickle feeding out all of these games to be able to get people continuously like hyped with Call of Duty, like, the next Call of Duty, like, this Call of Duty is coming to Game Pass so you can play it, and then 2 weeks later they're like, this Call, it's like, do something like that, man. Like, just start drip feeding it, like 80 or at 80 Doten. I don't know how you spell it.
Addy Dotun. I always say
Addy. We'll go with Addy. Yeah.
Drip feeding. You think drip feeding is the way to do it? Because I think it's a catch up on the Black Ops franchise by playing the campaigns of Black Ops 1 through 5.
I think
not counting 3 or 4, because it doesn't have one.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I think, but that would be a good way to go about for like Black Ops. I do think that you do want to have a lot of folks that want to play some of those older ones come in, because they're just not accessible anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mm-hmm. State of Decay 3. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looks
I
great.
love State of Decay 2. I've got days in State of Decay 2 as one of my favorite games of all time. I loved it when it came out. I loved all the incredible support Undead Labs did for it. I think I fell off post-pandemic is about the time I stopped playing State of Decay 2, but I am all for it. I love State of Decay, and seeing State of Decay 3 in there, let's go. Let's go. That gameplay looked great.
Yeah. A lot of
And
people
before
saying like
anybody,
it didn't look nearly as good because to the first trailer, and I'm like, well, guys, that was a cinematic versus in game.
and anybody that's not or that's saying you didn't see gameplay, you need to go back and watch. You absolutely saw gameplay. They just pulled the HUD off
Yeah,
for the trailer. That's all it was.
I do think HUD is important when looking at in-game footage, but for something like this, that still feels quite a ways out because we know their team didn't transition to State of Decay that long ago. Very much like going to be something that they will in due time show us like what everything's going to look like as far as like the HUD or the mission status, how you build up your communities, things like that.
Addy Dotun said, heard State of Decay 2 is in a great place. It absolutely is. You
Oh,
should
yeah.
go play it. Ever since the
A
Juggernaut
lot of quality
update,
of life.
it's an 8 out of 10, if not, and it's just fantastic. It might feel dated now. Rick Davis saying there were a few seconds of gameplay snuck in there. Yeah, absolutely. Cheeseworks, State of Decay 3, 2026 can't come any faster for it. I agree. I don't think it's a 2025 game. Can you play it
No.
solo? Bison, so yes, you absolutely
Yes.
can. It's harder. And I think as a lot of PlayStation friends are discovering, like Sea of Thieves, it's better when you've got a coordinated crew.
Yep.
Yes, you can do it solo. Yes, you can have a lot of fun solo, but the experience is almost designed around multiplayer. But
Yeah.
it's not as multiplayer as Sea of Thieves, but I think the points are well illustrated in both.
Very much like how I would tell people to play Redfall. If you can play with other people, it's better because the synergies work better. I think having people like keep an eye out for you and stuff in zombie games, always more fun.
Yeah, fair. Good point. Good point. And when you play that game with people at night, it's The Walking Dead in the best way. It's really fun.
Stop
It's
trying to get me
really
hard,
fun.
Luke. Come on. Next
Oh,
topic.
hey.
What? Whoa.
Hey.
Where'd that come from?
All right, let's see. What other things? I know we're going to talk Gears. I want to make sure I don't skip anything. Stalker 2 was there. I saw Stalker 2
Yeah.
in person. I did not play it, but I did watch it
Oh.
played. It just looks like Metro in a
Yeah.
good way. I think I say it
kept
as a
calling it
positive.
I kept calling it Metro during the reactions, and then the name
Did
come
you?
up and it said Stalker, and I was like, I'm an idiot. Oh my god.
It's okay. I think anybody can forgive you for that one. Age of Mythology looked cool. I don't know when I'll play it, but it does look
Yeah.
cool. I think it's one of those. It's nice to have in the catalog, and it's Game
Pretty.
Pass. So
Yeah. Out of the 4X games are not my style, but I appreciate it.
I think when they're slimmed down and made more approachable, we're good. But yeah,
where's the dumb version?
there was a cool
called?
PC game that's like a one-click RTS.
Huh.
I forget what it is. I don't want to Battle Ace. I forget. I talked to the team about it. They were really cool.
Interesting.
No, I don't want to say because I'm gonna forget it.
Okay.
But let's talk about Gears of War. Dude. That Gears of War trailer. Battle Aces, thank you, Rick. That Gears of War trailer, oh my gosh, was so good. I think we all were hoping, maybe not expecting, but hoping for Gears. I had a lot of in-person stories that come with this because of all the people we met and talked to. And then, of course, if you haven't checked it out, I did interview Cliff Bleszinski about it, which was really fun and timely. But that Gears trailer was so good, Logan. Oh my gosh, that was such a good trailer. What'd you think?
Dude, I was having such a hard time not crying during that trailer. As I was like watching it, I was just like, oh my god, it's Marcus and he's fighting the Locust. It's like we're going back, man. It's like it's that kind of gritty feeling that every moment there's a chance that your life can be snuffed out, and it doesn't take much, and you are fighting a really hard battle, and it's going to be down to those moments of like life or death, and and all it takes is just one soldier. The scene, honestly, and this is gonna sound very interesting to hear your thoughts on this, but in retrospect, I noticed this. The entire trailer of Marcus fighting the grunt like in the room reminded me of that scene in Saving Private Ryan where the dude is fighting the one of the guys is like in the actual like room in the middle of France, and he's fighting that guy with the knife, and they are just like constantly rolling over this other guy who got cut, and it's just that slow like pushing of the knife into his chest, and they're like just dripping sweat, and they're just like, it's just gritty, and you're just doing everything you possibly can to stay alive. And seeing Marcus fight, it was just like so great. And then when the ground falls out and he grabs the pipe, and you're just like, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? And then you see that other hand come down, and you know who it is. You instantly know exactly who's got his back, and it's Dom, and you're just like, oh my God. It's so, oh, dude. It was just like, it was pulling my freaking heartstrings. And then the music swells, and I was just like, I'm done. I'm freaking done. Whatever you guys want to do, like, I don't care. You want to sell off Xbox to the rest of the world, whatever. Give me Gears E-Day, like, that's fine. Just give me that, and whatever.
Split End saying he stood up in the theater and clapped. I was slapping Ainsley Bowden's leg because as soon as I saw the logo on the TV, my Insta Gears knowledge took me there. I got roasted, by the way, in the Cliff Blazinski thing because I said that Baird created the chainsaw, and I knew it was Adam Phoenix, and I was thinking of a different scene from a comic book, and I was like, whoops. I got roasted by them, which was funny. But I loved this trailer. I thought it looked great. Some people were going like, hey, this is a Gears collection. I just somehow knew. I was just like, this is not.
Yeah.
I knew that was Marcus. I loved that the Locust drone was a threat and a problem, because we really did elevate Gears to a point where Marcus was unbeatable, which makes sense as you go through. And Locust drones were not the main thing.
Armor.
Yeah, it just kind of happens. But I thought this was really cool. I did not see a prequel coming. Now, Todd Oxtra is saying, I really despise prequels. I wish this was more of a hive buster, so we got a proper Gears of War 6 soon. I do not despise prequels. I don't quite understand the frustration that you have here, because I don't subscribe to it, because I think they needed to get back to what was Gears proper, more horror based, more threat, more violent in this sense. And I think Gears was experimenting with JD and Kate and Dell. And while impressive games, Gears 4 and 5 are so good, but they were experimenting with their formula. They had more vehicle stuff, which was kind of happening more and more. They were messing around with Gears Pop, Gears Tactics, wide linear in Gears 5, and it just wasn't landing the way they needed it to. And so they went back to their roots. And I'm okay with that here. You asked a question in a couple chats, Todd, about like, are you worried? Are we worried about not finding out what happens with the characters of Gears 4 and 5 for a while? I think you will. I just think they needed to get back to their roots, and so they are. And when that music swells, I'm there for it.
I think a lot of this comes down to when you have a team that is working on a franchise and they feel like they've gotten a good opportunity to really kind of approach an idea, that sometimes the idea is just so good that you think, you know what, we really want to see what we can do with this. And I brought up Saving Private Ryan for a reason. That was like the first like broach into World War II. And it was dirty and gritty. No one knew what to do. No one really had a strong idea. There was always mixed messaging coming down from the top during that time. And it was just a different way to deal with combat. Like we had new weapons that we didn't know like how strong the impact was. And very much with E-Day, I think we're going to see a mission where Dom and Marcus are going to be pushed to go do something that by all accounts is just going to be a suicide mission. And we know it's not, but we're going to have an opportunity to really feel some of the trauma and some of the rawness that comes when you get into war. And that is something that when you start to look at where Gears has gone, it has been elevated so much as far as scope that sometimes it's good to kind of pull back down into that narrow focus of two characters just their experience. It's like watching a monster movie, but focusing in on one or two people and their journey in this bigger picture. And that can really make for a very interesting story. And I'm referencing Clover Lane for anyone curious, or Cloverfield.
Cloverfield. Yeah. I think we've seen a lot of examples where prequels have been able to pull it off. Rogue One is a good example. Not the same
Yep.
characters entirely, so I grant that. Metal Gear Solid 3, as Rick Davis points out in chat, is good. But I think going back to these characters is smart. I think, and if you're unaware, Judgment played some prequel cards.
Yeah.
It did play some prequel cards, and Judgment's not a bad game at all. It's just not standard Gears formula. And
Yeah.
Gears has been one of the franchises that has experimented a bit with tactics and pop and Judgment. But now going back to its roots, I really like that. And I'm sure for my Gears aficionados, like the Battle of Asvo Fields will be referenced here and there, or they'll allude to it in some way. They'll do some things for Gears aficionados to help celebrate the franchise in a way that maybe we're not seeing. But I'm anxious to see some of the questions that are going to get answered. Like, one of the things that people used to get frustrated with is, why were there no female Gears? Because they didn't want to put them in battle, because humanity was on the brink of devastation, and they were quite literally, they needed them to give birth. But this is early on. So do we see female Gears or not? Do they answer these questions? Like, how much of the Pendulum Wars and that tech will be involved? How much is Adam Phoenix going to play a role? Will we see Marcus and Hoffman at each other's throats early? Like, these are a lot of cool questions to be answered. And the Coalition does deliver quite often. To use a phrase that I would never, ever use, the Coalition doesn't miss, right?
Yeah.
They're just so good. So I'll be really, really curious to see. Adidotun asks, are people from Sarah human? Yes, they are human. Sarah is an anagram for Ares, the god of war, and that's why it's called Sarah. But they said it in a place where they didn't have to worry about alternate history. So that's why it's on Sarah, not Earth. That's all. Will they meet Gabe Diaz? That's a fun question. I don't actually know the answer to that. That is a fun question. I like that question.
It's possible.
Yeah, it certainly is possible, but I don't know my Gears tactics lore and Gabe Diaz well enough to answer it. But I'm just so stoked to see it going back to its roots. One of the things I miss about Gears 1 with its horror tones was, like, every time you got somewhere, it would have that, like, chime of, like, a checkpoint chime, and it had a very ominous vibe to it. We'll see the Krill, I hope. I'm curious if we see Karn. I'm sure we'll see Rom, but not Rom. Like, we won't see Rom fight Dom and Marcus because he shows up in Gears 1, but will we see references to him? Like, there's just a lot of really cool lore we can do with Gears.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what I'm looking forward to is that this builds up the opportunity for you to take some of those characters that we know we're going to see in Gears 1 and start alluding to some of the stuff that's going on around during the battles that Marcus and Dom are going to, like, start getting, little trickles of information about, like, oh, this person's over here and they're dealing with this and that's causing issues. And then they start to kind of learn, like, some of the names of like who they're going to be fighting in Gears 1 kind of thing. It's like, people that they'll run into, I'm sure, will start to be kind of referenced and stuff. And it's interesting to kind of build up, retcon some of that lore to kind of bring into a game to kind of give people an opportunity to be like, hey, if you want to play this, then, jump into E-Day when that comes out. And then alongside that, we're announcing, we're going to be trying to get a Gears collection with fully redone 1, 2, and 3, in the new engine, so that you can go back and start the story and have that kind of E-Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of, like, move people into it once you've gone and established the characters in the franchise with E-Day in a game that feels more accessible, just out of, design wise.
In the next 2 years, we have Xbox hardware launch rumored in 2026, and we have the Gears of War 20th anniversary. So I see a world where E-Day is launched and I see a world where the collection is launched, and
Mhm.
you occupy each of those two events with a Gears of War element. Um,
That'd be
do
cool.
I think a Gears collection goes to PlayStation? Yes, I do. I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I would love to see Gears of War updated into Unreal Engine 5. A lot of people are saying, well, you've got the Gears games in back compat and FPS boost and HDR and all that stuff. A well-made point, but I think now Unreal Engine has come far enough where we could see a remaster, remake, or something making
Yeah.
use of those assets in a better way, because that trailer looked so good and showed just how good these characters can look now. And having played Hellblade, it's like, oh, they can deliver as well.
Mhm.
I'm here for it. And I love Gears. And I'm actually going to go back to Gears 5 multiplayer just to mess around soon. They're at
Mm.
like 300% XP because the game it's on maintenance mode, which is fine.
Yeah.
And so I'm here for it. Jonathan, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. In chat saying it's a good thing if you don't care about Xbox hardware. You don't have to. That's the nice part about being a fan of some of these franchises now, is you can celebrate Gears and Halo and Hellblade and so many others on PC or otherwise. And I think that's the best part. And that's just the vision and the future that they have. And Rick Davis giving us good history for Gears characters here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get
Red
to
Beast, you see a mad
really
world.
we didn't get to really talk about the hardware.
The Xbox consoles that were shown,
Mm.
almost a non-issue. Like, I almost didn't care. Like,
I think that's the problem.
do you think
I
it's a
think that
problem?
I do think that that's the problem, because the precedent is now being set for the pricing of what the next console generation is going to look like. They're already pushing a $600 console right now. What do you think the next console is going to cost? If they're saying 1 terabyte of memory into the actual hardware is going to cost you an additional $100, but the disk drive is only valued at $50, with the all digital being 450 versus the 2 terabyte edition being 600 and the standard being 1 terabyte at 500. That tells me that they are looking to build consoles that are going to have specs where the cost of the actual hardware is probably not going to really equate out to what the console should cost. And as a result, I think we're going to see higher price consoles in the future as they try and push graphics, if they try and push memory, as they try and add more RAM to not have to have this issue with the fidelity difference between not having 30 and not having 60. I'm gonna say, like, they're gonna be trying to push closer and closer to that PC market with these console prices in the coming future, and then use things like extra terabytes as a way to bump people up into it.
I do not see a world where a console could be more than $600.
Really? Because I think a lot of people would have said that 4 years ago when we were all saying, like, if Sony releases the PS5 and it's $600, it's dead in the water.
How
And
much was
here
the
we are with a
PS5?
$600 version of an Xbox.
History dictates that a $600 console is not your best bet for Xbox.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are for a 2 terabyte special edition.
And
When
a lot
you
of people,
launch a system, you launch it at a loss to get people in, not pros, not mid gens, but as a system to get people in at an install base. You launch it at a loss, hoping that the software and subscriptions counter it.
unless you're Nintendo.
That's true, unless you're Nintendo. I don't know that Xbox in third place gets to do that. However, they command more power. And would you pay $600, $700, $800 to play the launch lineup or the lineup that we saw here? Because for sure, some of these games are the next Xbox and cross gen. And I think that's kind of odd because this generation has failed to deliver a lot of new experiences. And I think pandemic is partly to blame, but like Hellblade, Hogwarts, Jedi Survivor, and maybe a few smaller examples, but there's not a lot that have pushed these systems hard.
There is I don't think that the games have been designed well enough to justify the next gen for the most part. I think that we're still waiting for those games to really come. I think Hellblade's a good example of what you can do. A lot of people still playing old games on old systems. The pricing is something that's interesting because historically, when new versions of the consoles come out, the old versions drop in price. This is not the case. Instead, they are building value and they're selling it because the memory cards for Xbox are still over $100 for a terabyte, which means they can sell a 2 terabyte system and justify the $600 price point because $100 is still cheaper than buying an external card. Whereas if you look at like 1 terabyte for a PS5, you can easily get one of those with a heatsink that's 1 terabyte for under $100 any day of the week. And it frustrates me that they are using marketing tactics and price points for accessories as a justifiable cost or cause for raising the price of the console, which I guarantee you when the next console generation comes out, if they have a low end with the Series S and a new version of that, that will be their, this is for everyone that doesn't want the most priced experience. And they will come out with a version like this that will have options where they either have a disk drive or they don't, they have more RAM or they don't, or they have more memory or they don't. And they will try to bump up that price to $700 if they can.
Say Xbox 360 all over again. Do you want the arcade edition or do you want the one with the hard drive? You know, Fable,
And
Gears, Perfect Dark.
It works.
Ooh. Chat, let us know how much you would spend. What's your max amount that you would spend on a new Xbox console?
What's the most you would spend on a PC at the same time?
I would not game on a PC.
Why?
I don't want to sit at my desk because I don't want to sit at my desk.
Mm.
That's the old school mentality of it, and like all the logic in the world. When I hear people start talking about 4080s and this and that and 1090s and this and their drivers and their heat sinks, like I'm out.
So what stops you from using a TV as a monitor in a room where you can put a chair behind your desk and just move the office chair out?
I don't think anything stops me except the mental block of like, I want a console where just turn on and go. That's all it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not arguing that's the right way to be. I'm just saying like it's an old school mentality that I have. I just want it to work. I don't want to fiddle or mess with or anything else. So that's just where I'm at, you know?
Yeah.
I'm seeing people drop in like comments here and there. All right. ROG Ally was 400. Okay, fair enough. You know, I wonder if the 2026 is not new hardware. It's like the handheld. So maybe that's new hardware, but it's not like the next generation of Xbox. Maybe that's 2027.
They've definitely had more time to look at the market of what a handheld could look like. Obviously, we have the ROG Ally, we have the Steam Deck, we have, there's lots of other manufacturers out there. They've had enough time to be able to play around with it and see what they can make. I think that the handheld would definitely be coming sooner rather than later in this instance.
I'm looking at some of the comments in chat now. Tim Purr says 500 is the max that he would spend. Also, his wife is what's stopping him from putting a PC in the living room, which I think is funny.
Mm-hmm.
Split end, $500 is for the base is still my sweet spot. For the base, interesting. $600 for Red Beast, but probably not day one until he gets a Digital Foundry review. All right, fair enough.
So this is the thing, is because right now people's mindsets are based around what they're comfortable with. Everyone was comfortable paying $500 because that's what they told us we were going to have to spend. If people tell us that the base next generation is $600, guess what? You just changed your opinion because you're still going to buy that console. You may wait a year, but there's going to be a game that comes out that's going to change your opinion. And you're going to spend that $600 and your ceiling just got raised.
Yeah. Before we get to a listener question or two, if you guys haven't liked, shared, subscribed, or considered joining XEP as a channel member, please do so. We would love to have your support in that way. But we've got almost 50 people watching live with us, which is amazing. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us today. Let's see. We answered one of Todd Oxter's questions. I'm going to come back to one of his bonus question, but I really like this question from Dave Bernadette. Who's in chat with us as Split End. But I like this question that they put in. And it's just being slow while I cut and paste it. There we go. He says, what was the most eye-opening part of covering SGF and adjacent festivities compared to doing it from home and remote? So, Logan, you and I have a good comparison point here that we can go for. I would say that being in the room with people really allowed me to get a different temperature check on some of the announcements, and it insulated me from some of the arguments that would take place. So one of the things that I found out after the fact was that people were upset there weren't release dates in the Summer Game Fest and release dates in the Xbox Game Showcase. It wasn't even a conversation where I was. Wasn't even an issue. Everybody was just so stoked for Gears of War. And in the night before at the hotel, when Colt Eastwood and Idle Sloth and Paris Lilly and John from Xbox Era and Asante, myself, and Ains, we were all talking and having conversations. The Xbox folks came in, and side note, Jason Ronald knew who I was, which I thought that meant the world.
That's cool.
But all of the Xbox folks were like, hey, what would be your one thing that you really want to see tomorrow? And we were all like, Gears. And then to have that, the whole theater went nuts. People were standing up and cheering and shouting. That was really cool. And then another part that was, I thought, really funny was once the Xbox showcase ended and the Call of Duty Direct began, half the media got up and left. Like half of them got up and left to go write their Xbox showcase stories. And they didn't watch COD in the slightest, which I thought was interesting. Also, shout out to COD. Omnidirectional movement looks dope, and it looks amazing. About time is right. Agreed. So that was really interesting for me. What did you think?
So I think having two people kind of cover it from both aspects is a great way to have someone who's able to kind of cover everything and do so without having to worry about like setting up a live stream or doing it in person or having to go write up a thing right after the event. Being able to like have someone kind of speak directly to everything right after everything's kind of been aired and kind of share your thoughts on it and whatnot. To me, it's always going to be the difference between listening to a song through your phone or through like a smart speaker at home versus being at a concert. The concert experience is always going to be vastly cooler because you're there with a group of people who all share the same interests. You're all there for the same reason. You're enjoying the experience, and it's going to sound and feel different. Just at your core, you're going to have a much more emotional attachment to that concert than you are to just kind of sitting in a room with a camera on you, covering and reacting directly to what you're seeing and having a conversation with people at the time for that. And because of that, you're never going to feel nearly as hyped as you would if you were actually in person. You can be a little more analytical about it, but at the same time, you're going to be able to have like that instant feedback of what people are saying online about it. Whereas, like you mentioned, you were kind of insulated to all that because you're in the moment, you're living it, and that just hits different. So I've always thought that being in person is obviously going to be the best way to experience a lot of this, but it is so much harder to be a content creator when you are at the experience because you then have to remove yourself from the thing that you want to continue doing, which is be immersed in the experience to go address the responsibilities of actually having to do the coverage so that other people have an opportunity to glimpse at what you're actually experiencing, but without all the actual like kind of in the moment experience or emotion that you feel when you're going through it.
There was this weird moment after the showcase. We all got up. We were like, wow, just in awe. And fans went to FanFest. Media, which is where I was placed, and we could intermix in the theater, for the record. But we went back to the media lounge, which was dope, by the way. Like, we were up there, they were serving us breakfast before and then lunch after. It was catered. The Hollywood sign was out there. It was really neat.
Yeah.
I felt very VIP, which was a really cool feeling. But when I got back to the media room, all these journalists are sitting there typing. And it's like, oh, right, I'm here as media. And there was a reminder there. And so, like, it was suddenly they had all the new Xboxes on display. I'm like, okay, I'm taking a video for the channel. I'm filming a react that's different from what you made, because you did a live react. I did a quick short where I'm holding my phone out and I'm like, hey, I just got out of such and such. I did that to try to get content, because I was like, right, I'm a content creator. Like, because I was a fan during that show. And that's the weird place that we inhabit as enthusiast press, right?
Yeah.
So I like was doing that, but then next to me, I see Jez Corden typing out an article. I'm talking to Mr. Boomstick XL. Paris Lily's walking around shaking hands. I saw Steve Vigvari from Console Creatures and Bobby from Console Creatures, and I went down and sat down with them and had a conversation with them and talked to him for a bit, Rebecca Valentine. So, like, we had these weird moments where some people were doing their jobs. Some people were doing their enthusiast press. Some people were being content creators and, like, doing all these, like, taking pictures with stuff. And it was very weird because, like, there were some doing these, like, awkward angle photos and you had to wait. And then others were just chatting because all of us were there for a reason, but it was different reasons. And that's the weird part. We were separate, by the way, from the, like, Washington Post press and such, because like one table away was Steven Totillo, but then like other people weren't. And Split Ended 89 had a great interview with Treyarch and whatnot, and you guys should go look at his coverage on Gaming Trend. But like, he was in there doing his job, but also like he could chat, depend on which window of time he was in there, and that was just fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Sam Tolbert, by the way. Wonderful human being. Great meeting him. I will say Playdays is where I had the most journalist interaction, even though we were at a media event, because there we could, like, after a show or after a game that we went and played, like I played Path of Exile 2. That was really fun. We could just talk to people, and that was really neat. So, like, there would just be journalists walking around. I bumped into Ben Hansen. For the life of me, I can't remember. Like, what's the content that they make? It's good. Former Game Informer, but bumped into him, and like we spilled tea on what are the like on Jeff Keighley or whatever. Like, that was funny. Literally, I turned around and there was Sarah Bond. Min-Max, thank you, Todd Oxtra. There was a moment where I turned around and I just, here was Sarah Bond, and I just go, Sarah Bond, and she just goes, hello. I was just like, hi. It was like right there, and I was like, hello. But there were a lot of moments like that where you just run into people and you're just like, oh, hi, what are you doing? What you working on? Like, there were just a lot of really unique times, I guess. So that was
always interesting to see how those parasocial relationships are going to pan out when you actually get to be face to face with them.
Yeah, it was interesting because I've had people who everybody's very, very kind to me, or at the very least very cordial, but like, you can tell we make different content, right?
Yeah.
Or we do different things on stuff. We do different stuff. And so, like, watching them react to each other in real time is fascinating. Cheesework asking what happened with Jeff Keighley.
Your lips are sealed, right?
To a point. Yeah. Some of it's sealed out of respect.
Do I need more coffee? Do I need
no,
to get
no. He doesn't use dark mode on his laptop. I was like, come on, man.
That's wild.
Very frustrating.
Hey, that's how some of us gamers get our tans, okay?
Yeah. I found Jeff had a big job ahead of him, and I'm a very, very, very small fish. So he had no reason to talk to me. But in trying to speak with him, it was dismissive. But I will recognize full on what he does is needed for our industry. Like, it's strange for him to lose, right? And Xbox ate his lunch this time around. and that I'm sure was new territory for him. But you watch how other people treat some of these. I'll use the word famous because in our realm, Jeff Keighley is famous and Sarah Bond
Yeah.
is. You
Household
watch
name.
how, yes, watching how people treated Phil and Jeff and Sarah and Ben Hansen and all these journalists across all these content creators, you
Mhm.
could see which ones had garnered a level of respect and politeness and kindness, and which ones people talked to because they had to and didn't want to see,
Yeah.
right? And that was interesting to watch. There were plenty of people that nobody wanted to talk to despite being household names. And it was like, oh,
It's hard for me to begrudge people because obviously like for example, Troy Baker, my
you're
parasocial relationship with him does not breed comfortable feelings. Like I don't feel like he's the type of guy that I would want to sit down and have a conversation with. But I also recognize he's got a family, he's got kids. He is obviously loved by people. So there's something that everyone can find fault in someone else. But that shouldn't ever be the reason why you don't give them the opportunity to change your mind on that. And something with like Jeff Keighley, a lot of people like to hate on him because of his preferences for choice in trailers or how he runs his showcases and stuff. He's putting himself out there, and not many of the people that criticize him would be willing to do the same thing or even attempt it. So it's hard for me to begrudge the dude who's trying to entertain when everything that comes across to him always seems to be very vitriol and unkind. And honestly, like if I got half of the that he gets online,
Mhm.
I would have hung up my hat long ago and been like, you know what? If it's not appreciated, doesn't have to be a thing. Someone else can do it. I don't need that negativity in my life.
Split end saying that Jeff was very good to him, and I've heard plenty of that too, right? Like there's no reason why he has to be good to me or bad to anybody or anything like. And sorry, my words are failing me in this moment. What I'm trying to say is essentially what you were saying. The ask of him to be good to everybody all the time is difficult, and it's probably difficult when you work so hard and it doesn't pan out. So I allow that. I'll also say you should be nice to everybody. Like there's no reason to be rude. And it's
Mhm.
just we don't know what's going on. Maybe he wasn't feeling good. Maybe something was going on in his personal life. I try to allow that. But I think, and I'm not talking about Jeff Keighley specifically in this moment. What I'm saying is when you watch how others react, established names react to people, you learn more about them, right? How
Yeah.
someone was willing to treat me as a small person who no one really knows is says something about them versus like how they'll treat someone that's famous. And I watched a
Yeah.
bit of that happen too, right? I could tell,
Yeah.
when people didn't know who I was and they were just being very nice and
Yeah.
when they were being dismissive. And that's just part of being there. That's just part of being there. I
Yeah.
think it's just part of it. Nothing wrong with that. So,
It's hard when you want to because I've been in that situation at SOT Fest where I've had folks come up to me and I don't know who they are, but I have friends waiting on me, and I want to give people enough time to have their moment and to come up and greet me and say hi and let me know what they think of the content that I'm doing and stuff like that. And I always want to give them my attention because I want them to know that I appreciate what they're how first off the courage it takes to come up to someone that through a parasocial relationship, and then to express your feelings to them. That is a lot to do to someone. It's easy to do online because we're all very much hiding behind our avatars. So stuff can come across or not come across. You can take time to formulate your opinions, stuff like that. So having people come and approach you in person who are fans or not fans is so much different than interactions online. And I think that a lot of us, you know, have different takeaways when they do have those kind of situations, whether you're being approached or you are approaching. That sometimes it's one of those things where you just have to take everything with a grain of salt. Be as empathetic as you can to people, knowing that you don't know their full life and they don't know yours, and each of you are coming at this moment to try and do something in as much of good faith as you can. And it's going to be hard for times for people depending on where their social battery level's at.
I'll fully agree. And you're absolutely right. And the social battery part has been especially true because this week has been very hard for me because I'm ready to shut down and not do content. And side note, I won't be on XEP next week because my wife planned a trip to see our parents and stuff. Like, yeah, like no problem, babe. You let me go to LA, like, and that'll be a good recharge time for me. Because despite not being on XEP last week, there was a lot of social and gaming and such, and I've just needed recharge. But I appreciate Silkenit saying sometimes you catch people at a bad time for them. Yes, absolutely. Split End saying it was a highlight to meet me. Likewise, my friend. And when I realized it was you, my day was made. It was the funniest thing. Just Split End. It's like, oh my gosh,
you did talk
you.
about it.
Yeah. Nerd Chat saying they love that I got to represent them or represent the community. Yeah, I'll say thank you to everybody. If you're watching, if you've supported, liked, shared, subscribed, the financial stuff, whatever it is, I'm so grateful to all of you because I got to go because of you. And it was genuinely the best trip of my life. Bar none, the best trip of my life. I have never had a better trip in my life. And it was just amazing. Getting to see Ains in person was wonderful. Getting to see the people react to my reactions was great. Seeing XEP run without me, also great. Like, that's a cool feeling. I'm not even joking, Logan. It felt so good to like pull out my phone, check, see that you're good, and rock on. Yeah. So it was just neat. All right, man. Well, let me point people to XEP from last week, where we had the Cliff Blazinski interview and your live reacts, both fantastic, and I enjoyed them. I want to also say I'm working on other interviews, but I'm also ready to take a break. So I'm looking, like I do need a content break. I'll try to do my Let's Talk on Tuesday, and then I'll probably shut down for a bit. I'm doing Web Dave's show tomorrow night. If this cold doesn't get the better of me. But I'm ready to enjoy playing some games. What have you got coming for Keelhauled, my friend?
Oh man. Well, it's community weekend right now. There's Twitch drops coming. There's perks in Game Pass. We just got an update to the game with new content for like the Emporium and stuff. There's going to be a patch coming at the end of the month that's going to adjust a bunch of stuff for Sea of Thieves. So jumping in Sea of Thieves this weekend, great time to make some money, especially if you're just looking to try and get some of the new cosmetics that have come out. So yeah, going to be talking about that on Keelhauled this week. And that's pretty much it, honestly. Obviously, still dealing with a lot of stuff in personal life. So I have been trying to take time to just find the balance where before it was really heavy on content creation and playing video games. Now I'm going out a lot more to do stuff, meet people, things like that. I will hopefully be finding an equilibrium to that in the coming months. That's my hope. But a lot of that's just going to have to depend on mental health, honestly. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
So, but that's
more
what's
important than games.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me, as far as content and stuff.
Yep, big time. I will use this last moment to say, if I met you in LA, Idle Sloth, TKO Asante, Mr. Boomstick XL, Colt Eastwood, Ainsley Bowden, David Bernadette, Keith Mitchell. It was just, there were so many people, John from Xbox era. There were so many amazing human beings that I met that I'm just so grateful I got to meet in person. Thank you guys. Khalif Adams was incredible. And I'm just gonna forget everybody, but I'm so just honored that I got to go. So thank you guys. All right. That is going to be it from us. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone. Take care.